Ever since I was a child, I've been called one thing: meat. I wasn't born from love. I was born from necessity. My parents were strangers, forced together and used as human incubators. They didn't conceive me out of affection or longing. I was born because it was necessary, nothing more. Before I was taken to the processing factory, before they told me I was meat and always would be, my mother told me a different story. I don't remember everything, only fragments. The warmth of her arms as she rocked me, the softness of her voice as she sang me to sleep, the stories she whispered about how the world used to be when she was a child with a mommy and daddy who loved her. Stories where people were more than products. She told me about the good times, when children were born because they were wanted, when they had friends, when they went to something called school. Then she told me about the bad times. When she turned 21, normal life came to an end. It started with a virus, a sickness that made people unable to eat normal food. Their bodies rejected everything. Animal meat was indigestible. Fruits and vegetables tasted like poison and destroyed the immune system. The entire food supply was gone. "So that's how, little one," my mother would say, holding me up in front of her, her hollow eyes fixed on mine. They decided to start eating people. She would swing me back and forth, giggling. "That's how your father and I met, on the floor of the Blue Factory, where we were matched, fell in love, and made you, our darling little Bessie." To a child, it sounded like a fairy tale. Mommy and Daddy meeting in a scary place and finding each other. But Dad's scowl, the way he refused to look Mom in the eye, made it clear the truth was far darker than I could understand. Sometimes Dad would talk to me while I was pretending to sleep. His silhouette would fill the doorway of our tiny home. Barred windows, a rusted refrigerator with scarlet stains around the edges, one I was never allowed to open. "I never loved your mother the way I was supposed to," he would say softly, a cigarette burning between his lips. I liked Dad's stories. They were less magical, more honest. The Blue Factory wasn't a romance. It was a nightmare dressed as one. A baby farm that stripped people of choice. "I didn't even like women," he confessed one night, his voice shaking. "There was someone else." He trailed off, swallowing hard. "But part of me still fell for your mother, in a different way." "In what way?" I asked sleepily, my face buried in my pillow. I thought he'd be angry that I was awake. Instead, he laughed softly. "Well," he said, "you don't have to like someone to love them." Dad's stories were darker. Mom said it was love at first sight. Dad said they were assigned numbers and locked behind metal bars. He spoke of cages, of forced breeding, of the ugliest parts of humanity. As a child, I thought he was trying to scare me. But Dad wasn't trying to scare me. He was traumatized, reduced to a machine. No thoughts, no freedom. Mom was just a body used to make meat, to make me. I wasn't allowed to cry, or scream, or even laugh too loudly. Mom said if I made too much noise, the bad people would come and take me away. For 5 years, I lived in a single room and ate rice and beans for every meal. Every day, my father stood by the door and told me the same thing. "I'm not letting them take you." I was naive. I believed him. I believed my father could protect me, that we could stay in those 4 walls forever, that we would always be together. I was 5 years old when he finally told me the full truth about the Blue Factory. I remember opening my mouth to ask, why? But before I could speak, the bad men kicked through our door. A gunshot, a bullet through my father's brain, another into my mother as she shoved me beneath the loose floorboards. As she bled out above me, her blood dripping through the cracks and into my hair, The last thing she said was, "Baby, never forget the stories." She was so warm. Her blood felt like hot tar, scarlet tears dripping onto my face. I stared up through the cracks in the wood at her vacant eyes and broken smile, and I wondered if she was relieved. Relieved she didn't have to run anymore. "Remember, Bess?" she whispered, blood pouring from her mouth. She died before she could finish, but I already knew. "You are not meat." Those words hit me like thunder as my hiding place was discovered. Hands grabbed me, dragged me out. I could barely see through the blood in my eyes. A blurry tree. A stretch of black sky my mother swore used to hold stars. I tried to run. Someone yanked me back by the hair. I was thrown into the back of a van, and for the first time, I saw the stars. "You weren't made for eating." My mother's voice echoed inside me. "You are a human being." The doors slammed shut. Darkness, rot, bodies, body parts, some moving, some not. Red icicles hung from the ceiling. Cold air touched my skin. I curled into myself, shaking. I was inside a freezer. And most importantly, Bessie. My mother's voice lingered as the truck jolted forward, throwing me face first into a pile of wet entrails. "Whatever happens, you have a mommy and daddy who will love you. Always." I had to remember that. I was loved. I was human. But over time, her words began to fade. I was taken from the truck to a large boarding house. I had my own room. I started school with children just like me. I made friends. I sat in classrooms. I watched colorful cartoons with smiling characters and cheerful songs. And slowly, I learned the truth. I was special. The skin on my bones was valuable. I was meat. Part of a generation created to be eaten. Mom and Dad were the liars, the selfish ones. They hid me because they wanted me for themselves. That's what my teachers said. They didn't want me to know I could save people, that the flesh on my bones could feed humanity. I wasn't human. I was produce. And it was beautiful. I was beautiful. We were beautiful. The saviors of mankind, living flesh. By the age of 20, I was taken from the boarding house and sent straight to the slaughterhouse. Mom's words were nothing but distant echoes. Lies, lies, lies. She was the bad one. She tried to stop me from fulfilling my purpose. I was one of the special ones. I was fed the best food, whole grain bread, fruit, things only premium meat received. The others, the ones who fought back, the ones who refused, they were ground up and turned into animal feed. Not me. I was valuable. Packed into a cage with other meat under blinding white lights, I sat in the corner with my head between my knees. Mom's voice still whispered, "You are not meat. You are human." Shut up. I drowned her out by singing our anthem, the song we all learned as children, the song of the children who would save humanity. Number 6312. A man opened our pen and walked toward me. His smile made me smile. "You've just been bought." I let him pull me to my feet, saying goodbye to my friends. Usually being purchased meant immediate slaughter. Freshness mattered. But this was different. Beside him stood another piece of meat, a boy around my age with thick brown hair and angry eyes fixed on the floor. I could tell right away. He was one of them, the rebels, the ones who refused, the ones who believed the bad stories. His clothes were stained, his skin oily, his expression full of hatred. He sneered at me. I ignored him. Nothing was going to ruin this. I was finally going to fulfill my purpose. But instead of heading to the slaughterhouse, the man in the long coat and dark sunglasses shoved us through the crowd and outside. The sun hit my face. I froze. I wasn't used to the outdoors. It felt nice. But wait, I stammered. Before I could finish, I was shoved into the passenger seat of his car, while the other boy was dumped into the back. No, this was wrong. I opened my mouth to scream, but the man covered it gently. "Shut up, kid," he whispered. "Put your heads down. Now." I obeyed. Once we passed the checkpoint, I looked up. The sun was setting. The sky was beautiful. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "You were supposed to slaughter us. We're fresh meat." The man laughed, a loud, bitter laugh. He took us home, sat us at his table, and served us dinner. Vegetables. Real vegetables. The other boy ate without hesitation. I just stared. They weren't supposed to exist. "They poison people," I whispered. The man snorted. "Still want to be eaten?" He shoveled food into his mouth. "You think you're the saviors of humanity? Let me tell you what you really are." He poured me a glass of sparkling soda. 20 years ago, they found something inside human skin. Call it a drug. Since then, they've been using it like cocaine. He pointed at me with his fork. "You were never needed. We've always had food." His voice hardened. "Your parents were hunted down to breed a new luxury. Your meat is a high, a product for the rich." Silence filled the room. Then he leaned back. "The last one I ate," he muttered, staring at his knife block, "made me promise I'd give the next one a choice." His eyes locked onto mine. "So here it is." He pointed toward the sharp kitchen knives. "I bought you. I can slaughter you right now if that's what you want." The boy beside me spoke first. "No." Barely a whisper. But I smiled, because I still believed. "Yes," I said, without hesitation, without doubt. "Yes, I want you to eat us." If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next one.